Well, when does this guy find time to rehearse? I haven't seen this much tuna since the fishing trip I went on last summer.
What do Manowar, spandex, and Faustian bargains all have in common? They're all a big part of today's movie. And if those three things somehow aren't enough to sell you on Shock 'Em Dead, what if I told you it also features copious amounts of Traci Lords? Don't answer that. I already know you're hooked. Let's get into it. There are many things I enjoy more than a good heavy metal horror movie, especially when it's loaded with camp, comedy, and an unhealthy amount of gratuitous nudity. Shock 'Em Dead tells the story of your everyday loser who gets pushed around by everyone around him, decides to sell his soul to the devil, and then immediately becomes the kind of jerk who made his life miserable in the first place. This film stars Stephen Quadros as Angel Martin, a zit-faced wannabe musician whose lack of talent is matched only by his lack of charisma. That all changes when he encounters a mysterious voodoo woman, sells his soul, and transforms into the greatest rock star on the planet. This cast also includes Traci Lords as Lindsay, manager of the unfortunately named band Spastic. We got a couple of familiar faces as well. We got Shaun Donahue, a former teen idol from the 50s and 60s. He's playing a record executive. And man, he's got some of the best scenes in this anyway. We also have Aldo Ray. He's basically showing up as a perpetually angry owner of a pizza joint. Rounding out the cast are Marcus Grupa as Johnny, the least charismatic lead singer of any glam band I've ever heard of, Tim Moffat as Greg, the bassist for Spastic and Lindsay's boyfriend, and Jericho D'Angelo and Christopher Malecki as Jake and Dustin. They're here to complete the band and occasionally react to whatever insane thing is happening around them. I'll tell you what, this feels exactly like the kind of movie that would have crawled out of the brain pan of Fred Olen Ray or Jim Wynorski. That's why I was surprised to discover it was written and directed by a guy named Mark Freed. Now, Freed doesn't have a particularly extensive filmography, and honestly, none of his other credits were familiar to me. The screenplay was co-written by Andrew Cross and Dave Tedder, and those names didn't ring any bells either. So as far as I can tell, none of these guys went on to become major players in the movie business. Not like Fred Olen Ray and Jim Wynorski. Those two are up there on the Mount Rushmore of the Cadaver Lab love. The movie kicks off with a nice little tour of early 90s Los Angeles, which would be great if it weren't soundtracked by the least soulful version of Purple Haze that I've ever heard. Purple Haze, thoughts in my brain. Seriously, it sounds less like Jimi Hendrix and more like a band trying to remember how the song goes while being held at gunpoint. But as it turns out, we're listening to Spastic rehearsing for a big gig at the local amphitheater. The band is auditioning for a guitarist who's actually pretty good, but he immediately gets on lead singer Johnny's bad side. Why? Because Johnny realizes the guy has talent and might get more attention than he does. Well, clearly he reacts the way any guy with a 3-inch ego and a 2-inch package would, by getting rid of the competition. With that guitarist out of the picture, Spastic is running out of options. Luckily, one of the band members knows just the guy to audition. Enter Martin. Martin is a trailer-dwelling wannabe guitarist who works at a pizza parlor and possesses all the charisma of leftover guacamole. He's terrible at his job, terrible at guitar, and generally terrible at life. But he's convinced that's all about to change after getting a call to audition for the band. Before heading to the rehearsal, Martin quits his job at the pizza place. He does it in spectacular fashion. You know, the kind of resignation that guaranteed you'll never be using that manager as a reference ever again. I'll be honest though, Tony the boss, he was kind of an ass. It probably wasn't the first time someone quit like that, so yeah, that's not shocking at all. But after that, Martin grabs his guitar and heads off to make his dreams come true. He gets there and plays thinking he's nailed it, but instead he gets laughed straight out of the rehearsal room. And honestly, the band may have had a point. When I say Martin can't play guitar, I mean this man attacks a fretboard like a one-armed paper hanger. So let's review the day for Martin. He quits his job, gets humiliated at his audition, and then comes home to discover he's being evicted from his already terrible trailer. At this point, the only thing left for him to lose is his soul. Well, conveniently, that's exactly what's about to happen. A little later on, Martin encounters the local voodoo priestess who offers him a deal in exchange for his soul. She'll give him the looks, the talent, and charisma necessary to become a rock god. Of course, Martin agrees, duh, who wouldn't? But I'll tell you what, the voodoo priestess, I mean, the way she looks, There's something a little strange about her, and I mean, let's just say that apparently stranger danger wasn't a thing in the early 90s. And wouldn't you know it, the deal actually works, because after walking from a spirit Halloween-fueled fever dream, Martin is transformed into Angel Martin, a leather-clad hair metal Adonis with enough musical talent to conquer the world and enough ego to make sure everybody hears about it. Suddenly, he's living in a swanky LA mini mansion surrounded by gorgeous women who seem more than happy to cater to his every whim. And I mean every whim. The man's got everything: looks, money, women, and enough hairspray to single-handedly destroy the ozone layer as it was back then. This is not different. But I'll tell you what, it isn't until he picks up a guitar and starts shredding that he truly realizes how sweet his new life has become. Angel returns to audition for Spastic Colon and absolutely demolishes it. Within minutes, he's in the band, and before long, they're landing bigger gigs, attracting record label attention, and climbing the ladder to rock stardom. And just like that, every wish Martin ever had is granted. Well, almost. For a while, Angel spends his time enjoying the perks of his new life, and he bullies Johnny for humiliating him at the first audition. He samples the many benefits of being a rock god, and generally treats every room he enters like he is the second coming of Eddie Van Halen. But I'll tell you what, he decides to take some time to basically bully everyone, like on a vengeance mission. Johnny, the nice ladies at the pizza place, and he even gives a shit swirly to his old landlord. He is an ass, man. Unfortunately, the devil doesn't hand out gifts without expecting something in return, and Angel soon discovers that normal food and drink are now poisonous to him, and if he wants to stay alive and keep his powers, he'll need to periodically kill people and drain their souls. You know, typical rock star problems, as it were. So there it is. Angel has to kill to survive. The funny thing is that he adjusts to this arrangement with alarming speed. Before long, he's dropping bodies left and right, including Johnny, after stealing both the spotlight and his job during a massive amphitheater performance. Honestly, Johnny probably should have seen it coming. This guy was an ass to everyone, and like I said, Angel was coming back to bully everybody who bullied him, so he had it coming. Along the way, we learn the truth about Angel's mysterious female companions, why they're living in the mansion with him, and some of the less glamorous realities of becoming a soulless ghoul. Aside from Angel's attempts to steal Lindsay from Greg, the movie ultimately becomes a story about trying to hold on to fame, power, and your own existence when the devil finally comes to collect on the deal. Alright, okay. Man, where do I even start with this one, man? There are so many things about Shock 'Em Dead that I absolutely love. First, let's talk about Angel Martin on guitar. Now yes, it may be true that the filmmakers never managed to get Angel's face and his hands playing guitar in the same shot. In fact, they seem almost aggressively committed to avoiding it. Every guitar scene basically boils down to close-up of Angel's face, cut to the hands, cut back to Angel's face, cut to the hands. It's about as subtle as Stirba Werewolf Bitch's nude scene. But honestly, I don't care. That dude absolutely shredded. The reason becomes pretty obvious when you find out who's actually playing guitar. Angel's guitar work is performed by Michael Angelo Batio. And if you're not familiar with his name, he's the kind of guitarist who makes normal guitar players question whether they should even bother practicing anymore. This is the man famous for playing that insane double guitar that looks like somebody combined two flying V's and then asked, yeah, but what if we made it even more sexy? Batio played with a band named Nitro, had a successful solo career, and believe it or not, is currently the guitarist for the one, the only Manowar. And let me tell you something, even in a low-budget horror movie about soul-stealing rock stars, the guy is impressive. Every time the movie cuts to a guitar solo, it suddenly feels like somebody actually knew what they were doing. Potentially the only person in this movie. But that wasn't a dig at the movie because I loved it, but he was just so, watching him play was just inspirational. And yeah, maybe a little intimidating for those trying to start the guitar. All right, second, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we need to talk about Johnny. Johnny is played by Marcus Grupa, and every single scene he's in, he feels like a cautionary tale from the golden age of hair metal. Brother, honestly, if I could go back and travel to an alternate time and dimension where Spastic Colon was real, I'd pull Johnny aside and be like, brother, I need you to look at Billy Squire's Rock Me Tonight video, because that's literally what you're doing, and check out what that did to his career. I just want him to understand the dangers of making certain performance choices on camera. That's all. The man's stage presence exists in that magical space between lead singer and male exotic dancer trying to win a free drink. And the crazy thing is he commits to it 100%, like no hesitation. I mean, I don't know if the director could make him do that or if that's just in you. But whatever it was, whether he was self-aware or not, it was pure, unfiltered confidence. He just dug into it, and I loved it. Finally, it's difficult for me not to enjoy a movie starring Traci Lords. Actually, okay, so let me clarify that before everyone starts pointing their judgy fingers at me. It's difficult for me not to enjoy a mainstream movie starring Traci Lords. I mean, as long as you consider this mainstream, I don't know, straight to video goodness from the 90s. But anyway, I will just go with that because I kind of want to get past this whole subject. Anyway, she sits firmly at the top of the hot 80s chicks hierarchy that this movie assembles, and honestly, the entire female cast would have made juicy parts of the hot chick cheerleading pyramid. Everybody looks exactly like they belong in a sleazy, direct-to-video heavy metal horror movie from the turn of the decade. Nobody is giving an Oscar-worthy performance, but they're not supposed to, man. They're here to look cool, cause problems, and occasionally take their clothes off. And they accomplish all three admirably. That said, I think the best casting choice in the entire movie was Stephen Quadros' Angel Martin. The guy just looks like an arrogant rock star. I mean, Quadros has the cheekbones, the swagger, the hair, and most importantly, the attitude. And, he doesn't necessarily look like Axl Rose, but he absolutely looks like somebody who would spend 20 minutes explaining why he's the most important person in the room. The moment he transforms into Angel, he becomes exactly the kind of guy you love to hate. Every smirk, every pose, every condescending look just works. I'm sure this comes as no surprise that I love this movie. I love the camp, I love the ridiculous kills, I love the over-the-top nudity, goofy dialogue, and absolutely baffling decisions made by nearly every single character in this film. This is a blast from beginning to end, and honestly, it makes me wish Mark Freed had carried on the movie business. Get it? Carry on. Shock 'Em Dead belongs in that wonderful little corner of cult cinema occupied by invisible maniacs, evil tunes, reform school girls, and beach babes from beyond. All movies that I've talked about on this channel, by the way. They're all movies that know exactly what they are and will never apologize for it. Maybe that's why I enjoy them so much. They just remind me of a time when movies didn't need massive budgets, cinematic universes, or 12 layers of irony. Sometimes all you need is a ridiculous premise, a few memorable characters, some gratuitous nonsense, silly effects, and enough enthusiasm to make it all work. And somehow, against all odds, Shock 'Em Dead absolutely works. And, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I only choose movies that I really like to talk about this. So I don't know if this is a review show or if it's just like, here, enjoy my love. I'm sharing my love with you and with these movies. Because I don't think I will ever pick a movie that I don't like to do this. And yeah, this is perfect. Well, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. I love making these videos about these movies. Like I said, make sure to visit corpsecollective.com to see everything that we have going on over there. And until next time, I'll catch you later.